And these 2 days of Rosh Hashanah, what you do really matters. Not just because Hashem is deciding what's going to happen, but it has a literal effect on the rest of the year, and therefore so powerful and such a great opportunity. We explained that you have this concept in time, space, and in the person. Person, you have a head. In space, you have certain areas that are the source of life for the rest of the world. A holy site, let's call it Israel, Yerushalayim, the place where the Beis Hamikdash is, etc. You have the same thing in time, which is what Rosh Hashanah represents. Now, the idea of Rosh Hashanah is that when Hashem first created the world, He did this in a way of undeserved kindness. Meaning, Hashem said, I'm going to make a world. But after that, it has to be earned. What are we trying to earn? There's a certain desire that Hashem had to create a world. He doesn't need it. He's not fazed by it. People need stuff. They have a lack. They decide to fill that lack. And when they achieve it, they're satisfied. Hashem didn't have a lack. He's complete. But He decided He wants to do it. Wanting to do it means I'm going to take my essence and I'm going to go through a tzimtzum level, contract it, at least seemingly to us. It feels like it's contracted so we could perceive that level of godliness and still survive. And I'm going to go all the way through spherais, which I'm creating, in order to have a level called malchus, and that's going to create the world. Why? Because I want to. And we explained that desire is very deep within Hashem, just like in a person. Your desire is very deep within yourself. It's beyond logic. In the level of spiritual revelations or spherais, desire is in the crown, which is above intellect. By the person as well, desire is much higher. Now, how do you evoke this desire again in Rosh Hashanah? We said that every year the chayes gets a reset. The energy and the life source that was used last year is going to be gone, and we're going to have a new one. But you have to evoke it. That happens on Rosh Hashanah through sounding of the shofar. When you blow shofar, it expresses our desire for Hashem to do it. Now, it's not just blowing a trumpet, a shofar. It's a lot more than that. It's an attitude that says, Hashem, I'm accepting you as king. And tremendous focus is placed on that attitude. I'm going to express that I'm dedicated to you, like accepting the yoke. I'm in. Now, that's what tshuva, to a great extent, is. For the times that I threw off that yoke, I said, I'll do it, but I also have my own time. I also have my own interests. I also have my own stuff. Hashem. So, we go back a few lines because we stopped really in the middle. V'lachin Rosh Hashanah. And therefore, it's about 10 lines from the bottom, 12. Because Rosh Hashanah is a day when Hashem is renewing the chayes, and the renewal of the chayes has to be deserved, because Hashem said, the first time I'm going to do this without anyone asking for it or earning it. But going forward, you got to provoke it. You got to earn it. That's why Rosh Hashanah is a day of judgment. What are we judging? That in that day of Rosh Hashanah, they're judging the person and all the actions that passed b'shana she'avra. We're finishing a year. Okay, are we renewing the chayes for next year? What's the deal? In order to have a new renewal of chayes, of life, for this year, there are multiple prosecutions against the person if he's deserving for it. Does he deserve it? Why should he not deserve that there should be a flow of divine desire on this person? Through him, you should have a revelation of godliness. Why should that not happen? Because he's missing one important element. There are, because of multiple prikas oil, which means throwing off the yoke. What's the yoke all about? You have certain people that are not always accepting upon themselves the desire of the yoke of Hashem with desire. The ava or with love and willingness. Kiyim the prakim, sometimes. The itim mizumanim, and in specific times, that he remembers Hashem. Meaning, he's not always in the mode of Hashem, what's next? I'm here. I'm dedicated. Sometimes he throws it off. By the way, there's a beautiful story about Mendel Futterfass, which really expresses this concept. Actually, Manos Friedman shared this, that when he was a bacher in yeshiva, he was sitting in, I shared this at the Farbrengen, he was in the, in 770 upstairs, years and years ago. And the Mendel Futterfass, who had gotten out of Russia, he literally had a serious nefesh. He was like the icon of a chassid who risked everything, his life, to do what's right. And he comes out of Russia, he gets to England where his family already was, and then he comes to the Rebbe. And he goes into 770, and he walks into the yeshiva, and he sees a couple of bachrim learning. He sits down next to them. What are you guys learning? It was a mimer. And in the mimer it says, you have to make a cheshbon nefesh. You got to take an account of your actions. He's like, well, what's this? Yom Kippur? They're like, yeah, Yom Kippur. He says, really? So what's a cheshbon nefesh? They didn't answer. So he says, oh, you got to review all the sins, like the sins that you did in your mind and speech and action the past year. So what did I mess up in Tishrei last year and Cheshvan and Kislev, right? And they said, yeah. He's like, ach, or in Yiddish, feh. He said, on Yom Kippur, in Shul, the holiest day of the year, what's in your mind? That sin and this thought and that inappropriate desire and this, and that's your Yom Kippur? What kind of Yom Kippur is that? He said, let me tell you. Yom Kippur is about an attitude. It's about a decision and a resolve. Hashem, I'm yours. And I'm going forward, and I'm going to do what you want. Of course, you have to do tshuva. You have to prepare before, and you have to regret the past. You have to know what you're regretting. You have to know what you're changing. There's no question. But the major emphasis is I'm accepting Hashem's malchus. Last year was last year. I know things were not perfect. I know you know what they were. I'm going to change them. But the main emphasis, especially on Yom Kippur, is I'm yours. And in this case, Rosh Hashanah, let's have the desire again. I'm accepting the yoke. You're my king. It's a very different type of experience. It's a very different level of spirituality. It's positive as opposed to negative, which in this case could be impure. And think about some negative stuff. It takes you there. So what's the attitude? It doesn't, next line. Okay, so some of the day, he's not really into accepting the yoke of Hashem. However, the rest of the day, he turns to his own ideas, his own thoughts. Right? Sometimes I'm dedicated and have an ava and a ratzin for Hashem, and I'm looking and yearning, I'm excited and inspired. But the rest of the day, I'm in my own ideas. Each person according to what they know in their souls. Now, this is not a sin. We're not talking yet about some of them messed up. We're just saying his attitude is not one, Hashem, I'm yours. I have my own stuff. Kosher. Nothing's wrong. I'm not hurting anybody or violating anything, transgressing any avera. I'm just doing my thing. But it's not a commitment and a dedication and accepting a yoke of Hashem, which is very important for a Yid's relationship to Hashem. You're a servant. You serve. You're constantly ready. Which, by the way, with that attitude, then everything you do is serving Hashem. Your food, your experiences, your work, your leisure, everything is leading to that because that's your focus. That's your priority. As the Rambam brings. And especially someone that's not so careful, whether it's in staying away from negative things, it's pretty kosher. I think it's probably okay. There's some opinion that says it's fine. He's not so careful in negative or in positive. When it comes to positive things, there's minimal ways of doing things, and then there's the best way. I'm not so into it. Each person according to their level. We're not implying that you have to be machmir like crazy, and certain things are considered to be not necessary, and certain things are in the wrong place and the wrong time. But in general, what's my attitude? So level one is, I don't have that yoke. Sometimes I'm on my own. Level two is, lower than that, I'm not so careful about refraining or staying away from Surmeida and Asay Tev. Just not. Each person according to their level. It's impossible to have this flow of the supernal desire, again, the desire to create a world, the Gilei Malchus Yisbarich, a revelation of the Malchus of Hashem. If God forbid there's some kind of throwing off the yoke of Hashem down here. Because they are not accepting upon themselves the yoke of Hashem with desire, you're not going willingly, you're not going to bring Hashem's desire to make a world. It's a two-way street. Hashem says, I'll do this, but you got to earn it. And you earn it by having a desire to serve Hashem. Okay, let's skip this parenthesis and 4 lines from the top. Here's a beautiful hisbeinerus meditation explanation in davening. We say in Ashrei, Semech Hashem l'chol ha'neiflim, which literally means Hashem is a support to all those that fall. If someone is about to fall, they hold on to something that's supporting them. Hashem is supporting us from falling. What are we falling about? So there's a spiritual falling. Sometimes a person feels that he's not all there as far as his commitment to serving Hashem. And he's about to fall. Even just in attitude. Hashem is supporting you. Hold on to Him. Grab onto it. He's going to help you. The eyes of everyone will hope to you. Now, normally, or simply, this means you have an issue, you're hoping for Hashem to help you. It's all about bitachon and trust in Hashem. But in Chassidus, we're saying it's more than just hope for what you need. It's that too. But deeper, we're saying the hope and it's like a stronger level of hope, the desire, the want. In Yiddish, you say a strebung. It's the yearning. That each person will flow towards it. So hope in this case is, my longing is for Hashem, which also works with that word, isaberu. So Hashem is the support, because sometimes my mind goes in other places and I have other ideas. Again, all kosher and appropriate and in line. But I have other things I want to do, which are not only about Hashem or leading to serving Hashem or helping serving Hashem. So take the support from Hashem. It'll help. And then, that all the eyes should be to you, Hashem. We should be hoping, in other words, our focus, our emphasis should be hoping and wanting Hashem more. Hashem should shine in his heart. They should be mekabel on himself the yoke of Hashem with love and ratzon. It's a fascinating concept, because you're saying that you have to earn it. In order to earn it, you have to want it. But we're also saying Hashem's going to help you want it. That's what we say in Ashrei. Semech Hashem l'chol ha'neiflim. All those that fall spiritually, again, spiritually means that that's not where I'm supposed to be. My emphasis, my focus, my what I care about is not there. Hashem is going to support you. That yisaberu, the eyes of everyone. You ever see someone that's begging, and their eyes look at you a certain way? They're like hoping that you're going to not let them down. That's what it means, according to Chassidus, that your eyes are hoping to Hashem. That my eyes should be all about Hashem. I want you. I want to serve you. I want to connect with you. I want your yoke. That Hashem, the desire is that Hashem should shine in his heart. He should accept upon himself the yoke of heaven with love and desire. Hashem, help me get to that state. And through this, that Hashem helps the person. And I now get to that level. Literally, this means open up your hands, Hashem, and satiate each person their needs, their desires, whatever the important things that you need in life. Through this process, we're explaining it, that a person is holding on, so to speak. Hashem is a support, that you shouldn't fall, that you should have this hope and yearning for Hashem, which means you have Kabbalah Soul. This way Hashem opens up the hands. Now here it means Shubechinas Ratzin Ha'alyin. He should satiate you, to each person their desire. Which desire? The supernal desire. Literally, this pasuk means open up your hands and give us our wants. Answer our prayers. Okay? Usually it refers to sustenance, etc. But satiate us to our wants. But here we're saying it's the want, it's the Ratzin Ha'alyin that we're talking about. That you should have a desire to serve Hashem. To the revelation of Hashem's Malchus. And he satiates to each living being his desire. Yeah? How does he do this? Al yedei psichas hayudin. Peiseach es yodecha. Open up your hands means you have something, open and give. That's what it expresses. And a deeper level is open up the Yud. The Yud represents a condensed, it's the smallest letter. It represents a condensed, tiny little form, it's like a concentrated form of godliness, which is concealed, it's pulled back. Open it up, let it flow. Let that Ratzon for creation and for relationship with us, wanting Hashem and so on, should open up and the energy should flow. Very often in Torah you have a word or a verse, and there's a way to read it and there's a way to write it. And we could expound on the meaning of a word based on the way it's written and the way it's pronounced. So, which are different. So don't call it Yodecha. When you daven, you should. But when you learn, or when you reflect on it, it's Yudecha. You're telling Hashem, open up the Yuds. Let that energy flow. What happens after that? We should really recap this in a moment. That flows after Hashem opens the Yuds and you have that divine inspiration, then it's Tzaddik Hashem b'chol derachav. You're righteous in all your ways. Everything you're doing is, what does Hashem want? Right? I'm eating healthy and well and portion control because I want to get to serve Hashem properly. I'm working well and giving it my best because I want to serve. And everything is leading towards that. But what's on my mind and what's on my heart? I have this yoke. In a good way. It's a desirable thing. I want it. Serving Hashem. The chassid b'chol ma'asav, and he's a chassid. He's pious in all of his actions. Now, it's not just all your doings. Ma'asav represents something. Sha'afilu b'chol ma'asav, even in your actions, his actions, which are what? Physical, very materialistic stuff. Most of our day goes on other things. Shub'chenes asiyah gashmius, which is very material doings. Yumshach v'yispashit b'chenas chassid. The level of chassid, literally, it means be pious in all his ways. Or Hashem is pious, meaning he's kind in all his ways. But here we're saying that bring forth the chassid, which is chesed ha'ayin, the kindness of Hashem, blessed be He, into all of our actions. So we have Semech Hashem l'chol ha'neiflim in Ashrei. Hashem supports everyone. That what? What's the support? That the eyes of everything should hope to Hashem. Hoping means our whole hope, yearning, and interest should be for Hashem. And then Pesach Yadecha, Hashem opens up His hands, which we say open up the Yuds, and give each person that desire. Bring out the desire that we have within ourselves for Hashem. And then as a result of that desire, if I want it, then Tzaddik Hashem b'chol derachav. There's a righteousness in all of his ways, meaning in all the ways that a person is doing, at a deeper level. Everything that a person is doing, he is being a chassid b'chol ma'asav, not just in the literal sense that he's kind, but he's bringing forth chesed ha'olyin, the supernal chesed, kindness of Hashem. Right? Chassid b'chol derachav, chassid b'chol ma'asav. Okay. Now, how do you do this, right? It's like it's not a button you turn on. All of a sudden, your priority's in the right place and everything is fine. So, v'hinei, the way to bring forth this desire of Hashem, that there should be the revelation of Hashem's malchus, which will then cause a maintaining of the world's the kiyum, a whole year this happens through being involved in Torah and mitzvahs. When a person learns Torah, when a person does mitzvahs, these activities bring forth the desire of Hashem. This ratzon that we're talking about. They are the will and the wisdom of Hashem. That means the ratzon which is enclosed in chachma. Because Torah comes from chachma. When you learn Torah, you're accessing the desire and the chachma of Hashem. Right? What's the saying in English? Learn me, you'll know me. There's a saying, something like that in the world about.
To know me is to love me.
Yeah, but anyways, point is when you learn Torah comes from the chachma of Hashem. From obviously it's chachma of Hashem, but it comes from chachma. And when a person learns that, he gets this chachma and the ratzon. Shehem b'chinas taimei mitzvahs. These are the reasons of the mitzvahs, which today we don't know them, but sheyisgalu la'asid. They'll be going to be revealed when Mashiach will come. Which is the idea of bringing forth the hidden light of Hashem through each mitzvah, in according to its level and its estimation. Meaning every mitzvah has a different type, but it's bringing forth this desire of Hashem. Again, we have this challenge, right? In order for the world to come back into existence and really continue on for the coming year, Hashem has to have a desire to do so. That desire, unlike the first time He created the world, was automatic or from Hashem's kindness. Hashem now says we have to deserve it and earn it. The way that you earn it is by having a desire to serve Him, to want Him, accepting His yoke. But not everyone feels that way. He looks at his past year, and there were times when he was not interested. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Or he may not only was not interested, but he wasn't so careful about certain mitzvahs, or at least the level of how he was doing them, or refraining from negativity.
You have to accept His yoke if you only eat the egg whites.
Well, that's a way out.
It's a ching.
There's an extra fee for that.
Right.
So, the way to do that is, we know that Hashem helps us. Semech Hashem l'chol ha'neiflim. There's a support. He helps that you shouldn't fall. And that there should be a desire and a hope, and all person should really care for is, Hashem, I want to serve you. And when you get to that level, then it's Tatek Hashem b'chol derachav. There's a Pesach es yadecha. Hashem opens up the yuds. The divine inspiration flows on you. And He satiates your desire, which means your desire is full. You want to serve Him. You want to accept His yoke. And then it's Tzaddik Hashem b'chol derachav v'chassid b'chol ma'asav. Everything you're doing, even in the physical actions, it's about Hashem. And not only that, but you have the chesed elyon is flowing on you. Okay. Now, how do you do that? The way to bring this forth is through Torah and mitzvahs, because Torah is Hashem's chachma. You're accessing that. Mitzvahs is Hashem's rotzeh. You're accessing that. It brings forth certain levels according to each mitzvah based on its the way how it's made up and comprised. Generally speaking, yes, there's different types of mitzvahs which bring forth different types of levels of desire of Hashem. But generally speaking, generally it's the flow of the light of Hashem which is enclosed in supernal chachma. And in this vein, our sages have established the vorech kedem kol mitzvah, to make a bracha before each mitzvah. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvosav v'tzivanu. Because a mitzvah is about bringing forth the light of Hashem, they established a bracha. Blessed be you, Hashem, King of the world, which we'll understand in a second, these words, who sanctified us with these mitzvahs, and He commanded us, etc., whatever that is. Put on tefillin, wear a talis, etc. V'derech klal, pirush, ki habracha v'hamshacha miratzon Aliyah Baruch Hu, the bracha, which we know means flow, of Hashem's desire, in order there should be Hashem Elokeinu. What do we want here, right? You want that Havaya should go into the level of Elokeinu, which is the level of creation. There should be a flow of that divine energy, and want to create a world. It should be king of the world. We explained earlier, more yesterday than today, that we have the way that the creation happens is there's a malchus level, right? The lowest sphira is where it comes from. Comes through there. Hashem Malach Gerus Lavish, He dresses up, so to speak, in the format of a king. Now, in order for that to happen, that's Malach Ha'ilam, be king of the world. Do that. Do the king thing. So we're saying Baruch Atah, Baruch means to flow down, it should come forth. Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem is a level of godliness which is beyond creation. Elokeinu is a level how it's in creation, also known as Tzimtzum, which was a necessary step in order to create a finite world with infinite godly energy. That's a bracha. Baruch Atah Hashem, it should flow into Elokeinu, so to speak, into that level, and be Melech HaOlam, sustain the world. The reason for this is because you sanctified us with His mitzvahs, your mitzvahs, right? He sanctified us with His mitzvahs. That's why it all happens. The flow of Hashem's holy, supernal holiness and Chachma Ilah, the high level of Chachma, is in His mitzvahs, in His commands upon us. So again, you see, it's all about us serving Hashem. It's about the attitude in serving Hashem, which means the yoke of accepting the yoke of heaven and saying, I'm yours. And it's the actual doing of mitzvahs and learning Torah that brings forth this desire and makes it continue. And that's the bracha, right? You gave me this mitzvah to put on tefillin, and as I'm saying it, I'm bringing forth this desire from Havaya into Elokeinu, and be melech ha'olam, and then there's creation. And everything, works from there. That's why the 248 positive mitzvahs are called 248 limbs of the king. Now, usually we say they're parts of the king, but here we're saying they're limbs to create the king, so to speak. We want Hashem to act in this king way, because that's when there's creation and sustaining of creation. And so each mitzvah is another limb of this king. Lies even the malka, to be limbs of the king. Now, what are limbs? The Evrim Pirush Hamshaches. Evrim are flows. As an example, a limb is the tool, the conduit that's bringing forth chayis from the soul to the body. Where is it getting it from? Where is the limb pulling energy for your fingers? It's pulling it from the revelation of the energy of the soul, which is in the head. Kacha mitzvahs, similarly mitzvahs, they operate in the same way. They're bringing forth chachma ilah, that it should come down to be king of the world. We're good? Okay, so our goal is to have a acceptance of the yoke of Hashem. When we do that, then Hashem goes down these steps, so to speak, causing the godliness to come down. It should play itself out in a way of Melech HaOlam, and then you have the world doing its thing. Okay, not doing its thing, but Hashem continuing to create it and sustain it. V'zeu, and even if you didn't hear the whole beginning, not you, but the video, then this piece is on its own. V'zeu inyan mitzvahs tzriches kavana. This is what it means that mitzvahs have to have kavana. They require a certain intention, concentration, focus. When you do a mitzvah, what are they? You have two bechinas, two levels when it comes to kavana in the mitzvahs. One level, ha'alev, shekachu mitzvahs hamelech. These are the mitzvahs of the king. Shetziva aleinu. These are the mitzvahs that Hashem commanded us to do. Period. It doesn't matter if I'm eating matzah or putting on tefillin. Hashem said so. That's my kavana. The habez and the second kavana of mitzvahs is already more specific. He kavanasa, it's the kavana of that particular mitzvah. Shim taimei mitzvah, it's the reason of the mitzvahs. Shebahem ve'al yodam nimshach erin seipar chom lubitz chachma ilah. That in them and through them come forth the infinite light of Hashem, which is enclosed in chachma ilah. Okay, so there's two parts. There's I said so, period. And it's a relationship. Hashem can tell me to chop wood, I'll chop wood. Doesn't matter, whatever it is. And then there is, every mitzvah is bringing forth something specific. It's causing a certain divine energy to happen. It's a very different type of relationship with the mitzvah. And they're both necessary. It's attitude, and then there's more specific and feeling involved. This is the idea of, we don't say it before every mitzvah. Some people do. We say it before Baruch Shamar. It's once a day for the day. But that's the idea. You're uniting Kudsha Brichu Ushchinte, which means the level of Hashem and the level of His Shechina. Shechinte b'chinas mitzvahs hamelech, Shem b'chinas hamalei kol amen. Shechinte, His glory, His presence, represents mitzvahs of the King, which that's a level of hamalei kol amen, imminent godly revelation, godly energy. The Kudsha Brichu b'chinas Kadesh umuvdal. Kudsha Brichu represents the level that's Kadesh, that's above, it's aloof, it's separate. Hu b'chinas Seviv kol amen. And we want to unite both of these things. You want to unite Havaya and Elokeinu. You want to unite Seviv and Mali. We want to take the higher and bring it into the lower. Remember, Seviv it's this great projection. It's very, very high. It can't be internalized. In order to internalize, you got to filter it down and make it a little bit more palpable. And we're saying we're going to unite both of these levels together.
Isn't Havaya and Elkeinu the same essentially?
It represents two different modes. Havaya is, let's call it, very intense level of godliness, and to create, you have to filter it or make it tzimtzum, etc. Kodesh is Kaddish Umuvdal, which is Seviv. It's the flow of Erin Seif, which comes forth in this particular mitzvah. And these things have to be, both of these, Kodesh Brichu and Shchinte, Seviv and Amalei, Havaya and Telekenu, they have to be, we don't say Havaya Lekenu Yichod, but in general, these things have to be in a way of unity. Why? Because the end is wedged in the beginning. Things in Kedusha are not contradictory and fragmented. There's a synthesis. It's a circle. It works together. Through doing the mitzvah, because this is the mitzvah of the king. So it's interesting. How do you have the ring here, the end and the beginning? Because my attitude is, I'm doing the mitzvah what Hashem said. Because you said so, as a result, it now flows within to me the particular light that's shaykh to that mitzvah. So I have general and specific through the attitude of being committed. Doesn't matter what it is, Hashem, I'm yours. But sometimes, so this explains, the Rebbe talks about this. What's better? Just saying, it's a chayk, I accept whatever you say, I don't care. Whatever it is, I'm in. Or it's into understanding, and I get it, and this is a mitzvah, it makes sense. What's better? Well, on the one hand, chayk is much better because you're dedicated. It's not about you; it's about Hashem. On the other hand, when you understand what you're accomplishing and why you're doing it, there's a little bit of a better, more geschmack in it, and there's an enthusiasm. Now, you have to have enthusiasm, just committed, doing what Hashem wants. But you can't compare, a mitzvah at zero logic to the human mind to something which is reminding us that Hashem is with us every single moment. For example, very good. Yeah. So what we have is both of them together. That's the two kavanas of a mitzvah. My first kavana is, I'm doing what you said, Hashem. And as a result of that attitude, which again is a very servant yoke mentality, I'm in. As a result of that, you get this presence and the flow of the divine of the divine ratzon, the divine desire, the way it is for that specific mitzvah, which has the advantage of it's not just general, but it's in the specific. And we want to unite both of these things constantly. There's a Seir and there's a Mamali. Seir is general. He said so. I don't know details. It's transcendent.
And that's when you yield to the mitzvah for the bracha. That's when you receive the hana.
Very good. Of B'chas Hanenim.
Well, like
Havaya and Elkeinu, okay.
Yeah.
Combined. Like a bracha on food or something.
Right. But this is more B'chas HaMitzvahs, right? We're saying what the mitzvahs accomplish. So, Asher Kedishanu. So, Baruch, bring forth, Atah Hashem Yod Eibishter. It should be Hashem Elokeinu, that it should be Melech Ha'olam, King of the world. Why? Because the Shekid Yishan, the mitzvah said you sanctified us with your mitzvahs. Mitzvah, you commanded us with something.
I'm saying there's a double hana in a sense. There's the hana of the chiddush, the revelation, and the hana like simultaneously. Like when we say a bracha over food, that's where you go to the mitzvahs. When you actually receive the hana on your palate, it's like so it's just it's parallel.
Right. So. You're right.
That's why ta'am first both the objective and the subjective perspective. Yeah.
Good. Very nice. The question is, what's the emphasis in Rosh Hashanah? Is the emphasis the tam, like you're saying, the enjoyment and the feeling, or is the emphasis I gotta do? And the reality is that in order to get that ratzon, it has to be the yoke. We have to develop a mitzvah level where it's enjoyable, we're into it, and it's not just robotic. But in order to have a king, you have to come to the king and say, I'm yours. Whether I feel like it or don't, I'm committed. And that's what's needed on Rosh Hashanah to get that desire down. As we go, you have to have other levels, and they're required, and we combine them together. And we say Asher Kiddushanu also for blowing shofar. But what Hashem needs from us is, what he's telling us to do is, accept me, just commit, show up. with the Kabbalah. So,
Shikar.
thanks for joining. See you soon.